Good afternoon, I'm Sam Hartley.
And I'm Alex Ferguson, and this is your latest sports news. Cardiff City forward Emiliano Sala's body was recovered from plane wreckage located in the English Channel. His plane went missing along with pilot David Ibbotson when they lost contact with air traffic control on Monday, January 21st. The Argentinian striker had completed a club record £15 million move to Cardiff 2 days earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the least of my worries, the record signing. I think the finance doesn't come into it from my point of view. It's the human, and I think when we've said about brings the family peace and comfort, I think the same goes for the club. I think they've handled it unbelievable. I think I couldn't be more.
Emiliano Sala, who has passed away at the age of 28.
A devastating fire at Brazilian football club Flamengo has claimed the lives of 10 people. It occurred in the early hours of this morning at the Rio de Janeiro-based club's training ground. 6 of the victims were youth team players, while 4 were employees who were found in a dormitory that was only expanded 2 months ago. Firefighters have said that the injured have been taken to a nearby hospital.
England have announced their squad to face France on Sunday in the second round of the Six Nations fixtures. Chris Ashton makes his first Six Nations start since 2013, replacing winger Jack Noel, who drops to the bench. Courtney Lawes comes into the second row for the injured Maro Itoje. Eddie Jones has handed Joe Launchbury, Dan Cole and Ben Moon spots on the bench.
Moving on from injuries in the opening weekend of the Six Nations, the debate over collisions in rugby has resurfaced. CJ Stander suffered fractures in his eye socket and cheekbone in Ireland's defeat to England last weekend. GWA Media have a look at whether players should be better protected from tackles that produce car crash injuries.
Now, is your old phone just sat in the drawer gathering dust? Well, it could have a higher purpose. For the first time ever, all of the medals awarded at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games will be made entirely from electronic waste, including old smartphones and laptops. Organisers say the project was launched to promote sustainability and to enhance a sense of involvement in the Games.
The Formula One world is revving up as we approach the 2019 season. Haas are the first constructor to unveil their brand new livery. The American team's new black and gold look will first be driven by driving duo Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen on the track in Barcelona test at the end of this month. All the other teams will reveal their cars in the next 2 weeks.
You never know. I mean, in Formula One, anything can happen. I doubt that we will be serious contenders for podium positions straight away. I mean, on pace, I doubt that we will just be there straight away.
Within the last decade, bowls participation throughout Britain has fallen by 33%. With the younger generation failing to take an interest in the relaxing sport, what future does bowls have on a national stage? Michael Coleman reports.
Lawn bowls, a sport typically associated with the older generation. Down here in Southampton, that doesn't seem to be changing. One club in particular faces the battle to attract fresh young blood to the game. Jamie Lawson has witnessed firsthand the decline of youth involvement.
When I started, there was probably 30 or 40 kids up here playing at the same time, so it wasn't just 1 or 2. When you look out there now, there's probably only 4 people under the age of 40 out there.
Since 2006, participation levels in the UK have declined by 30%. Many clubs are under threat because of this. Memberships are at a record low. Volunteer committee members are retiring and are not being replaced. And with less members, there's less money to keep the clubs rolling. Mike Henry, the secretary of Atherley Bowls Club, is unsure how to attract the next generation of players.
The trouble is, we're stuck in a bit of a rut. We're older people, we've got less contact with younger people, so we're unable to get to them directly. And once you get into that spiral rut of decline in terms of attracting young people, it's difficult to know where to go to find them.
Recently, clubs across Scotland have been undergoing a quiet revolution, and it is hoped that a similar concept can be done in Southampton. As well as being one of the more social sports, it helps players to keep fit, especially during winter. This is just one reason why Atherley club captain Stuart Rowney continues to compete.
It can be physical, all ages do it. I think our youngest members are sort of 8-9 years of age, up to people well into their 90s. It also keeps everybody fit as well, the walking up and down, regular exercise. Some people play 3-4 times a day.
Yeah. So why is there a participation problem? The sport has long struggled to shed its traditional image of stuffy blazers, rigorous regulations and sex-segregated competition, which could be one of the reasons why people may be hesitant to sign up. Back to Jamie, who thinks the sport needs to erase that stigma in order to move forward.
I think people are a bit reluctant to try because they feel that it is an older person's sport and they feel like they'll get taken a mickey out of, or people won't like them because of it. And I think there's a bit of a reluctance towards that.
Lawn bowls is in desperate need of a new breed to ensure the ball doesn't fall short of the jack. Michael Coleman, Solent Sports.
From the bowling greens to the slopes, US skiing star Lindsey Vonn has crashed out of the World Championships in the last hour ahead of her retirement. The event in Sweden is set to be the three-time Olympic champion's last event. Vonn, who has 82 World Cup goals in total, will bow out of the sport as one of the greats.
Is pool a credible sport or just a pub game? Its association with pubs and alcohol has often led to the activity being looked down on and not considered a proper sport. Liam MacDonald has been to the Alex in Southampton to watch semi-professional player Adam Osborne.
Often breaking into the sport of pool involves many pints being chugged down with it. Many even deny its status as a sport. However, semi-pro player Adam Osborne, who plays for the Crucible Snooker Club in Stockport, believes that these opinions are wrong.
I think that people do look down on snooker and pool and darts because you don't really need to be athletic like you do in football, rugby, swimming. But I think that it's a sport in its own right. It's played by many people across the world, not just in the UK. But yeah, so it's a proper sport, I believe.
Pool, along with many other pub games including snooker and darts, have had a long association with alcohol consumption. Adam believes that these traditions spur the atmosphere at major competitions.
I think people can see it in that way, definitely. You see when they go to Alexandra Palace, the crowd is a lot more lively, and that could be due to the amount of drinking that happens in the crowd. At Ali Pali, they're shouting, they're screaming, they're chanting. Snooker and pool a bit less, because obviously they've got to be quiet. But yeah, I think people can generally have that aspect on snooker and pool.
Now why'd you wanna go and put stars in their eyes? It's the same old story, well they just didn't realise. And it's a long way to come from the dog and duck karaoke machine and Saturday nights drunken dreams. Now why'd you wanna go and put stars in their eyes? It's the same old story, well they just didn't realise. And it's a long way to come from your private bedroom dance routines and Saturday nights drunken dreams. Now why'd you wanna go and put stars in their eyes? Why'd you wanna go and put stars in their eyes? So why'd you wanna go and put stars in their eyes?
Pub regular Harry LaMajera is sceptical around the status of pool.
I wouldn't really say it's proper sport. I think it's more sort of a pub tradition where you just go there, get absolutely razzled. I'd say it's more of a game, not really a sport for me. So there's no physical exertion.
Nicola Adams is vying for her first professional boxing title next month. But ahead of the fight, just how popular is women's boxing on an amateur level in the country? Joe Glanville reports.
Working the pads. You may not associate boxing with women, but the likes of Bonnie Drake definitely pack a punch. Despite Nicola Adams' upcoming title shot, women's boxing still remains on the fringes, and at Pound for Pound Gym in Southampton, the training sessions are very much male-dominated. Bonnie isn't bothered about being the only lass at Pound for Pound.
I always wanted to do boxing for fitness, and then I come here and I had one lesson and then I was hooked. Maybe women are intimidated to come in here perhaps, because I go to the gym and I do boxing, boxercise, and there's more women than men.
A Sport England survey on amateur women's boxing saw an increase of 11,700 people in the last 6 months. Female participation now stands at 35,000, making up 21% of the amateur landscape. But surveying the scene at Pound for Pound, you wouldn't think that's the case, with the distinct lack of female boxers on show. For some coaches, Promotion is the key word for a surge in female participation.
I'm Mo Farag. I'm a boxing coach here. I train Thursdays and Saturdays in the evenings. I think it needs to be promoted a lot more. We normally have a lot more women down here and they do really enjoy it. A lot of them actually get involved in sparring. It's good for self-defense, for stamina, for fitness. I think women just need to get a good understanding of what the game's about, enjoy it, feel welcome in the gym, you know, and then, yeah, that's basically what I think.
Farouk Viderti, who coaches the females at the gym, believes the lack of sparring partners is hampering the women's game.
I mean, definitely advertising, getting it out there more, maybe having more gyms catered to female boxers only. The fact that there's a lot of guys that do boxing, when it comes to stuff like sparring and things like that, women will probably have a hard time finding training partners and things like that of their own gender, own size, kind of, to make it more fairer for them.
Bonnie believes that if women knew what boxing clubs were really like, more would participate.
Maybe more advertising on social media so people can actually see what it's like here. Because social media is very popular, isn't it? People can see little clips of things. So, yeah.
By the end of March, the UK may have a new champion in Nicola Adams. But will this encourage more women down to places like Pound for Pound? Joseph Glanville, Solent Sports News.
After injuries suffered in the opening weekend of the Six Nations, debate over collisions in rugby has resurfaced. CJ Stander suffered fractures in his eye socket and shin bones in Ireland's defeat to England last weekend. GWA Media have a look at whether players should be better protected from tackles that produce car crash injuries.
From the Aviva Stadium to Test Park, Southampton Rugby Football Club are just one club dealing with the dangerous side of rugby. Ex-Scotland international Kelly Brown has recently described tackles and rucks as car crashes. Nick O'Leary is a winger for Southampton.
I got concussed a couple of years ago.
He highlighted the size difference of opposition players for the main reason behind his head injury.
That was me going into somebody's shoulder, so they were just standing up towards me and I ran straight into them, hit their shoulder and didn't feel quite well afterwards, so I was out for a few months after that. And obviously he was the same position as me, a lot bigger, it's just the way it is.
The RFU produces an annual professional rugby injury surveillance project that outlines key findings from the previous season. One of the most significant results showed that in the 2017-18 season, concussion accounted for 20% of injuries, with one fewer concussion every 8 games than in 2016-17. Southampton coach Sheridan Easton feels that player size has increased the collision impact.
Players have got more powerful, they've got bigger and stronger, and also the way that defences are aligned now, it's basically big players or trying to get your ball carriers run into players to commit players to take players out of the game or take them off the park, not as in injure them or whatever, but it has impacted on more collisions.
In 2017-18, the average severity of all injuries was 37 days. It was the second consecutive campaign the figure had risen above the expected upper limit of season-to-season variation. So, should rugby introduce more laws to protect players? Jordan Woodward, who plays inside centre for Southampton, feels that contact plays a big part of the sport.
I think taking it in and getting contact and receiving contact, making tackles, I think that's part of rugby. I think if you didn't have that, there'd be no need for forwards and it would literally just be a kicking game. So I think it would ruin the sport completely.
Recently, England lock Maro Itoje said he believes concussions occur more because players tackle low rather than high. The RFU statistics show concussion makes up 37% of injuries to tacklers. Southampton's Stephen Clark thinks that technique is the most important aspect.
It's low now. If you don't get low, you're going to take a big hit. And I think it's real emphasis on technique and just getting that head in the right place and knowing what you're doing.
Injuries, especially concussions, are causing the RFU a real headache. With players getting bigger and bigger, the game may need to reconsider the emphasis it puts on physicality.
That's all from us for now. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Goodbye.